Hey everyone, welcome to December 8th MakerDAO community call. My name is David Utrobin. I work at the Maker Foundation and have been a longtime MakerDAO community member, and I get the pleasure of hosting these calls. And so if you're new to the call, typically we do one of two things. Sometimes we do actually both things, but sometimes we have guests on the call. So if there's interesting stuff going on, if there's an interesting topic to dive into, we really enjoy having guests on the call. And then secondly, in the absence of guests, we often like to go over the Maker Relay, which, if you're not familiar with the Maker Relay, it's a publication that comes out every Monday night that's put together by a working group in the community. And it's basically like, the week's news at Maker. So there's a ton of information about ongoing votes, current events, community highlights. There's a state of the peg section. There's a tweet of the week. There's other events that are happening listed at the bottom. So it's a really, really useful weekly publication. Highly suggest you regularly tune into it, check it out. We want that group is aiming to really produce something that's very useful for MKR holders week to week. And so any feedback on that would be appreciated. And likewise, if you actually would like to contribute to it, feel free to reach out to me. We actually are actively recruiting contributors, and so there's no shortage of opportunities. And I'm sure Maker Relay could definitely use an extra pair of hands or two. So reach out. Yeah, cool. So today we're going to be just going over the Maker Relay. If you're here live on the call, there's a little button down below. It says Maker Relay on it. If you click on it, you get basically it directs you to the forum.makerdao.com tag for Maker Relay. And I think it's automatically sorted by the latest at the top. And this week we have Maker Relay episode 24. So without further ado, I'm actually going to share my screen and kind of walk on through this. And feel free to ask any questions. Feel free to pause me. I'm happy to make this as interactive of a call as possible. Also happy to invite people on the mic and for conversations and whatnot. So don't be shy in the chat. I am reading it. I am here and happy to make it as interactive for you all as I can. So here we go. I'm going to share my screen and let's walk through the week at MakerDAO. So yeah, Maker Relay 24. So I guess the one really, really big thing that's happening that MKR voters should be aware of is the activation of the DS Chief version 1.2. So last week we had an executive for actually just doing DS Chief 1.2, and it passed. And so that was step one. Now we are in the activate phase, which this spell actually requires 80,000 MKR for it to be passed. It's the only spell with a quorum. Any votes or spells after this one will not have a quorum. And so this is already using the DS Chief version 1.2. So for you to be able to actually vote on this, you have to migrate your MKR, you have to take it out of your old voting contract, and you have to set up a new one. I know it can be a little bit gas, what's the right way to say it? Like gas cost not friendly. For a few people, I've heard that it costs somewhere between intensive. That's the word I was looking for. Yes, Akiva. So for a few people, they've reported that the total migration took them something like $50 to $80 worth of ETH in transaction fees, and that I empathize with everybody in saying that sucks. But on the bright side, the MKR system, the Maker protocol, actually now has resistance to flash loans. In the past, with the old DS Chief contract, the whole reason for this upgrade basically is because people could use flash loans to vote. And this is very, very dangerous because it means that somebody without skin in the game, without an actual ownership of MKR, can influence governance and can pass through votes. And it does become a scary situation where the available MKR on the market for flash loans exceeds like 70 or 80,000, which we were starting to see, because what that means is, you could pretty much get something passed pretty easily with a flash loan, if you just kind of catch the right timing. And so this DS Chief 1.2 upgrade was fast tracked. It's very, very important. It's already been passed. The only thing left to do is to activate it. And so in the coming few days, I encourage all MKR holders to go and vote on that. And let's make this thing a reality. All right, cool. So also just a note on before I get into governance polls that are active right now, there is a monthly governance cycle that the Maker protocol abides by. And actually this month for December, there is no monthly governance cycle. And that's because we passed MIP 4 component 2 subproposal 6 called calendar exceptions. And this basically laid out that we would be skipping December because of holidays, because of kind of how universal it is. We're giving the governance domain team and Maker governance in general a bit of some room to breathe. And God knows that Maker governance has been nonstop being productive and putting out votes every month, and we've been passing just a ton of stuff. So I'm excited. I think this calendar exceptions little break is well deserved. There are still votes going on in December on the weekly governance cycle. And so that's a perfect segue to get into what's happening right now. So there's a number of governance polls that are also up. One of them is to adjust the Wi-Fi A vault system parameters. This is to actually increase the stability fee from the current 4% all the way up to 10%. And this came as a result of Primos's concerns around Wi-Fi, saying that according to the risk analysis, the stability fee should be at least 7%. And then he makes another case for basically the different directions that we could go. And the forum voted, and it looks like an increase of the debt ceiling to 30 mil and the stability fee to 10% is where the community has reached a majority. And so that's the vote that's currently happening. I'm not sure if it's also a debt ceiling raise, actually. Let me just double check. Yeah, it is. Okay. So it's a 10 million DAI debt ceiling raise and then a stability fee bump of 6%. There's also a vote going on to adjust stablecoin stability fees. This has been a topic of conversation over the last few months, especially since USDC A vaults have begun to dominate the MakerDAO system. And also, ever since we lowered the collateralization ratio, the liquidation collateralization ratio on the USDC A vaults to be like 101%. So basically, 4% stability fees will end up basically putting that whole facility, if you just looked at USDC, all the positions on USDCA in aggregate, they would start becoming underwater pretty soon. And so the idea is that we should put stablecoin fees down to 0 and open up different USDCA or USDC facilities. So it would be like a USDC C vault type. There was a number of votes to figure out what the governance community, what MKR voters wanted to do about these stablecoin vaults, and I think the number one suggestion was to put them down to 0%, and that's actually the primary argument being made in the discussion thread. So definitely read up on that. Though according to the current votes, I believe that no is winning. So this one says adjust everything to 0, but the vote has a 3,700 MKR lead on no. So it would be really, really great to hear from MKR voters why they're voting no on this, and what they would vote yes on, because I think the 4% stability fees on the current stablecoin vaults are unsustainable. And it's just a matter of kind of communication. So highly encourage any MKR voters who are voting no on that to come on the forums and share, because I think that there does have to be something done. If it's not 0% stability fees, feel free to tell us what alternative you think would be better and why. There's also a vote to adjust the Ethb debt ceiling. This is a pretty straightforward one. I think Ethb debt ceiling is at like 10 million, so it's being moved up to 20 million. So yeah, I think yes is overwhelmingly winning here. So that's pretty much that. And then likewise, this is pretty exciting. So we've been talking about IAMs, also known as instant access modules, for quite a while here at Maker. And this instant access module, this vote is to actually test out the first instance of an instant access module being used. And that's for Ethb, for specifically the debt ceiling on Ethb. And of course, this is kind of a test. Ethb is not as big as Eth. It's a pretty moderate sized facility, and so yeah, Primosh posted a thread a couple days ago explaining the different parameters, which the three main ones are line, gap, and TTL. And he talks about basically how the module works. And the idea is that there would be a 5 million debt gap, like the target available DAI that could be generated would be like 5 million. So let's say Ethb debt ceiling was 20 million, and there was like, I guess 18 million being borrowed. The debt ceiling would increase by 3 million at the end of that week. So I think the way that the IAM works is that every Friday, if I'm not mistaken, it actually kind of like automatically puts in the adjustment into the executive vote, so nobody has to really even think about it, and it happens. And so I might be wrong on that. Don't quote me on that. The other way that the instant access module would work, actually, here, outcomes. So it'll be granted permissions to modify debt ceilings in the weekly executive vote. Yeah, so it would be weekly. So yeah, I hope I'm not reading that wrong. Yeah, exactly. So basically, these are the parameters. The maximum debt ceiling is still a parameter, so it's not like this thing would be boundless. 50 million DAI maximum, and it would adjust upward or downward, keeping a 5 million DAI buffer week to week. So that's basically it. So those are the 4 main governance polls that are happening up here. And then there's 3 other governance polls that are happening, and they are related to collateral onboarding, and they're going to close in a couple days, actually. So the 3 collateral onboarding votes are for Aave, Uni V2 DAI ETH LP tokens, and then Uni V2 USDC ETH LP tokens. And I believe all of them are winning so far with yeses. And if you would like any information about them, feel free to, again, go to Maker Relay. I'll post the link here for posterity, and feel free to jump in there and check out the different evaluations by each of the domain teams, check out the application, and ultimately, vote well. All right, cool. And so yeah, I already mentioned this. Last week there was the vote to migrate to DSG 1.2 that passed. Now we're activating it. As a result of last week's votes, the real world asset 1 for Success Capital has been added to the list for a future executive vote. So MKR voters have voted yes to add it into the system, and it will be added in a future executive vote. Hopefully soon. I think it's actually going to be after the new year, just because of how December is going to be playing out. But regardless, it's really excited to get the formal green light on this. Yearn Finance was whitelisted on the YFI USD Oracle, and that's, I think, still has to go to an executive vote. I think after the activation of the new DS chief. And then likewise, Ren BTC and Uni have been approved to be moved to an executive vote. So there is also going to be an executive vote to add those vaults as well. So a lot of green lights were given, and it looks like the Maker protocol is going to be in store for a really, really great January at least. So December is going to be a little bit limited on what's going to actually be implemented and passed, but January is we're gonna come out of the new year swinging, so to speak. So I'm excited for that. Here's some updates, just general updates. So that's it for votes at the moment. Here's some general updates. For Mips, there's a number of Mips in the request for comment phase. I just want to reiterate that the community is looking for people to review these Mips, to read through them, to suggest improvements on them, to point out holes in them, to point out flat out mistakes in them, and to engage in the discussion that will help make them better. Mips go through a request for comment phase for a reason, and there's a ton of really, really interesting stuff being proposed. And just huge props and shout outs to our community so far, because in the last year, we've seen just a metric ton of engagement with most Mips. And it's been exciting to see them passed. But of course, more engagement is always welcome. And so definitely jump in. So we have MIP 17, the weekly actual debt ceiling adjustments. We have the DSS Gov MIP 26 governance contract redesign, which is like the fuller governance contract redesign. The 1.2 is kind of that's happening now is kind of just a step before this one. There's the peg stability module, MIP 29, that's being proposed by Sam M. There's even code ready for it, and all that good stuff. And actually, in relation to the PSM, I believe it was Kurt. He posted on behalf of the foundation just an update on our involvement, or not like our. I'm saying our as the Maker Foundation's involvement in the PSM. Let me actually see if I could. You know what? I'm gonna. It might actually be listed somewhere below here, but regardless, I actually, you know what? No, I'm gonna get the link right now. I know exactly how to find it. Just go to Kurt's page, and I believe it's right here. Yeah, foundation statement on the PSM. So the statement is still remains that the smart contracts team that is employed by the Maker Foundation has not had any involvement nor has made any contribution to the PSM. Moreover, the foundation and its smart contracts team has not and will not provide support for the PSM. So it's going to be totally community driven. And so, yeah, the Maker Foundation can't guarantee or provide any opinion regarding the safety or correctness of the PSM implementation. So just a fair notice there for the community. Yeah. So I'll leave it there for now. Okay, going back, let me just close this. Let me close this as well. Yeah, and then there's the MIP 30, which is a farmable CUSDC adapter, which allows people who, for example, use USDC vaults to actually use a the compound wrapped version of USDC, so that they could still actually earn a yield when they're farming their comp tokens. So it allows for vaults that can still be like using the underlying asset to farm. And Akiva rightly points out that crop join can actually also be used for LPs. And really, like the model itself can be used for a ton of different applications. But regardless, it's really cool. There's a couple of sub-proposals in the RFC phase as well. One of them is for a governance communications team. This is actually a group of community members who are already doing things, for example, like the Maker Relay, and who are actively thinking about the whole realm of communications with regards to MakerDAO. How does the DAO manage its public relations? How does the DAO manage its intra DAO communications, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And so that too is a work in progress, and we highly encourage people to read through that and suggest, give us your feedback about it. The other sub-proposal in the request for comment phase is the Maker protocol cover with Nexus Mutual. Nexus Mutual is an insurance provider, and so yeah, more details can be read in the proposal, so check it out. Just some quick updates from the various domain teams. Smart contracts moved the new DSG v1.2. I need to secure the hat with 80 KMKR. That's the activation vote that's happening right now. The smart contracts team completed a few collateral assessments. They did Uni, Ren BTC. They're currently working on TBTC. They're currently working on Aave. And they assessed priorities of real-world assets. So yeah, Uni, Ren BTC, and MIP27 are going to Kovan. MIP27, I believe. What is MIP27? Is that You know what? I have to figure this out. What is MIP27? Because if I don't know, it certainly means that some people also will not know. Okay, this does not help. Oh, okay, the debt ceiling instant access modules. So they're okay. So they're testing the instant access module on Kovan. So that's cool. All right, and then the foundation team also got auditors chosen to assist for the unaggressive end of year schedule. Actually, I already had it open, but you'll open it again. So this is kind of a living post, as Christopher Mooney mentions, to communicate basically the timeline for until the end of the year. We're already, today's like December 8th, so we're like everything before this highlighted stuff has already been done. So it was rescheduled, but it is happening. MIP27 is scheduled to happen on the 11th. That's this coming Friday. And then on the 18th, which is next Friday, it's MIP21, which is the real world asset vault, I believe, the Aave vault, the Uni v2 DAI ETH vault, MIP29, and the MIP29, which is the PSM implementation. Exactly. All right, cool. So that's what we have in terms of the schedule. Possible changes to the schedule. MIP22 is making a strong effort to hit code completion by the 4th, so they can make it in by the 18th. So MIP22 is the Centrifuge direct liquidation module. This is another real-world asset vault component that deals with specifically Centrifuge real-world assets. So Centrifuge is an issuer, and they're working with like smaller projects that are connected to them, like Paperchain, which does I think they did like a pilot with Spotify for forward financing for music royalties. Also Console Freight and Harbor Trade Credit. So all of them are working with Centrifuge, and Centrifuge is putting forth a liquidation module for those asset types. So yeah, that's the possible change. So they're hoping to make that in for the 18th. Cool. Yeah, and I'm not going to read through the edit log, but basically feel free to check back here. I believe Chris is actively updating this. And some token smart contract assessments. TBTC has had a technical assessment. Aave, the assessment has been posted. I think yeah, so this bullet point, because it's saying it's still working on TBTC, I think they said this on the Thursday governance call, and so by the time the Maker Relay was actually published, it looks like they posted it, yeah. And just to confirm that framework in my mind, no, it was 9 days ago. Yeah, cool. So I guess TBTC, it's interesting. I don't know. I guess I'm just wrong. Anyway, TBTC 9 days ago got a smart contract technical assessment by Sam. Aave also got a smart contract community assessment. I wonder who did this one. Yeah, by Nazim. He's awesome. Really, really kind guy. And then the last one was the NS2 DRP NS drop, which is actually a Centrifuge asset. Got an assessment. So, and who did this one? I wonder if it was the smart contracts team. Yeah, this one was done by the actual smart contracts team. New silver drop, real estate backed loans. Yeah, cool. Yeah. And actually, I'm gonna try to get somebody from these real world, like from Centrifuge, or specifically maybe from this from this token's team, to come on the community call. I'm gonna actually formally drop an invite right now, but I will be reaching out to them and seeing if they'd be interested in coming on and talking a little bit about that collateral type, because it's interesting to me. I definitely would love to get my head a little bit better wrapped around it. And so, yeah. All right. Some risk team updates. The team published evaluations for Uni, DAI ETH on Uni V2, and then USDC ETH on Uni V2. They also did a risk evaluation for Aave. They did a risk evaluation for the first Success Capital real world asset. And then, yeah, they also did the new silver drop token risk evaluation. And then lastly, Primosh actually posted an evaluation of the PEG stability module, which I highly encourage people to read. Yeah. So a ton of really, really good information here. As for the Oracle's team, yeah, there was an Oracle outage last week of November. No oracles were updated for 3.5 hours. And so the cause of this was related to a bug in the Scuttlebutt network, a dependency in the stack. There were no liquidations that were affected because of this outage. And Nick posted a postmortem here, actually, I think last night, 11 hours ago, explaining exactly what happened. And so to give you all the gist, the Oracle team actually knew about this bug. It was because of a hard code limit that Scuttlebutt had for like 3/10 gigs, where basically, yeah, there was a dependency, and the team was actually building an integration to help like alleviate this dependency. So Scuttlebutt is a peer-to-peer gossip network, and there's actually a ton of work being done in Q4 to implement something called just so I don't mess it up, I might as well just find it here. Yeah, lib P2P, which is an alternative transport layer for basically Maker Oracle infrastructure. And so, yeah, all right, I wish I could just like read Nick's whole post so I don't have to butcher this myself. But basically, what happened was the Oracle team knew of this bug, actually planned ahead to get ahead of this bug, but because of just in general more Oracle updates, more Oracle activity, the projected time that this bug would be an issue was like a month overestimated, and it happened a little bit sooner than the Oracle team anticipated. And so that's why this happened. But as a result, there's actually, I believe Nick said he implemented a monitoring thing over the specific bug and like this number. So tracking the size of log.offset. And so, yeah, there's just some redundancy that happened as a result of this incident, but thankfully there were no negative effects or anything like that. And a solution to this was already in the works. So, yeah, that's that. Going back, state of the peg. So the DAI peg is still sitting right above 1 at around 1.005. As we could see, there's just a ton of DAI. We're still sitting at over 1 billion, so that's really exciting. I'm going to kind of skip over these graphics because they're just showing all the different vault types. Somebody's using GUSD, 550 DAI, haha. So the volume for DAI last week, over the last 7 days, was $260 million. The average volume weighted price again is $0.005. Yeah, so let's see. So the largest ETH vault's collateralization bucket is around 210%. And so that's pretty good. Here's the projected DAI liquidated. And so this is like the ETH price. And so this corresponds with people's liquidation prices on the individual vault types in, I believe, ETH-A. And so, yeah, it looks like there's a big liquidation wall at around 420. Yeah, 419. And yeah, moving forward. YFI may test and prod, but they yield in safety. 220% is the biggest collateralization bucket. So yeah, it looks like that one YFI vault with like 11 million debt has decent collateralization, which is good. Yeah, so it's one YFI vault that's really dominating the facility, and it looks like, is there 220, 221 liquidation price? So their liquidation price is 22,400, which is actually pretty concerning. But I believe that Primoz actually talked a bit about this, and he even I hope I have it open. I don't have it open actually. Never mind. But yeah, he said that this vault actually managed to avoid liquidation a few times, even though it's sitting pretty close to liquidation. Like I think 22.4 is like a 15 or 20% drop in the price of YFI for this to get liquidated. But yeah, it looks like that person is actually a pretty sophisticated vault user, according to that vault's history. Yeah, so moving forward, price appreciation in Bitcoin helps push WBTC vaults over 200% collateralization as well. So yeah, that's looking good thanks to the BTC price. If anybody would like access to kind of live stats, feel free to try any of these 3 different sites. There's actually more. If you go to the top of Maker Relay and you go to this governance tools resource, there's a list of way more data and sites that you could visit for yourself. So check that out, if you please. All right, cool. We're almost coming to the end here, folks. So gonna keep plugging on through. So yeah, some highlights from the community. There were a number of articles. I know one of the big buzzes happening this week is around something called the Stable Act, which, from what I'm hearing, is not a very well written act and has like a number of issues with it. And so yeah, a ton of people are talking about it over the last week, both on Twitter and on Reddit. So yeah, that's cool. The cryptocurrency pros, DeFi, what do you know about decentralized finance? So yeah, this is kind of like a general DeFi article. The Giving Block, adding support for DAI, donate DAI today. So blog post from the Giving Block discusses the acceptance of DAI in their protocol and now allows for donations and to be given in DAI. So that's really exciting. I wonder what the Giving Block actually gives to. I am horribly guilty of not knowing things. Donate crypto to charities, as seen, used by, that's what I was looking for. So let's do some zooming in. They're like really small. Team Rubicon, American Cancer Society, Wake Forest, International Medical Corps, and Save the Children. All right, that's cool. Yeah, right on. I think we actually did some charity for Save the Children before. Anyway, yeah, so that's really cool. And also, Making Maker November 2020 came out. So this is a good roundup of a monthly roundup of things that happened in Maker. So definitely check it out. These are kind of like this is kind of like this call, except just one and in written form. But yeah, it covers all of the really big stuff that happened milestone-y stuff that happened over the month of November. So yeah, moving forward to our Maker Forum deep dive. There's also a Maker governance review of November 2020. Highly suggest you check it out. Anna did a ton of work to put this together. I think I might be missing credits for somebody else here as well, but yeah, check it out. It's a pretty succinct and sweet governance review for this month, or sorry, for last month. Wake Forest needs money, really? Is it a private university charging an arm and a leg to attend? Yeah, I'm not sure. That's curious. Let's check it out. Let's see. I'm like very very curious now. All of a sudden. Wake Forest. It's used by them. What does that mean though? This is very bad UI. Our services, tell them about the giving block. Maybe like they use them for services, maybe not as like a recipient. Yeah, it could be like something for student grants. Yeah, I guess Giving Block is trying to be like a platform, crypto fundraising platform. So it's not just for like donating, it's also just general fundraising. Yeah, cool. I'll leave it there. Well, hey man, Wake University trying to be innovative. That's pretty cool. All right, cool. So there's a few more highlighted forum threads on the priority of real world assets. Where do we stand? So Spin began to lay out where where the real world asset working group has gone since the signal request resulting in prioritization of real world assets. So that's really cool. It's like a status update. Would you like to be interviewed about MakerDAO / a MakerDAO ebook? So Pros11, who's a actually pretty new community member, is proposing a platform for beginning a quote story of MakerDAO ebook. I really like this idea actually, and so I think some contributors have actually already responded and are reaching out to Pros. But feel free to reach out to them if you like this idea. I definitely think it's important to preserve the history of things, and I think MakerDAO has a fantastic history filled with just a ton of interesting stuff, to say the least. Cool. Yeah, moving forward. Foundation statement on the PSM. Yeah. Okay. Cool. So it was here in the Maker Relay, but anyway, yeah, I already talked a little bit about this, but yeah. Moving forward, the tweet of the week. This is actually related to that Stable Act stuff that's happening, and actually, this is kind of like making a joke out of what one of the authors of that act said. Basically saying that node operators should be responsible parties, and so yeah, shit, my node accidentally validated a DAI transaction. Like, yeah, bit of satire, haha, haha. All right, moving forward. A large portion of the governance call dove into real-world assets this last Thursday and their risks, specifically to oracles. And so, yeah, check it out. The link provided is a time stamped link, so it'll go directly to that section where they start talking about real-world assets. So if you're looking for something to watch with your lunch today, that's definitely a good candidate. Yeah, and some meetings and events that are happening this week. We have a collateral onboarding call actually today in about an hour and 20 minutes with B Protocol. I highly suggest you join. B Protocol is doing something interesting. They were actually involved in some drama with regards to the whole flash loan thing. But regardless, they are a great team. They have built something really interesting, and so I highly suggest you go check out that collateral onboarding call. And then likewise, a couple of days later, there's going to be another collateral onboarding call at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time or 1800 UTC with Melon Protocol. So they're going to talk about what's coming on Melon V2, DAI and Melon, and just a general Q&A session to the community. So yeah. And as usual, there will be a governance and risk call this coming Thursday. And there's a couple of community events. So tomorrow we have an intro to the crypto metaverse, digital art, and gaming NFTs. And then from the 9th to the 10th, we have the Paris Blockchain Week Summit. So if you'd like info on these events, just go to the relay and click these links. They will bring you to those event pages. And so yeah, with that, thank you very much for reading through the Maker Relay with me. I hope this was helpful and caught you up a little bit about what's happening in the MakerDAO universe this week. Definitely quite a lot. To sum it up again, there's the new Chief 1.2. There's the instant access module being tested for the Ethb debt ceiling. Oh yeah, I think one thing I didn't mention is that as a result of last week's executive vote passing, the governance security module delay is no longer, 72 hours? Now it's actually back down to 48 hours. So just a heads up on that. So yeah, cool. Happy Tuesday, everybody. I'm gonna end this call just a bit early, and yeah, hope everybody has a fantastic day. And likewise, reach out if you are interested in contributing. Maker has tons of opportunity, and we are always looking for passionate people who want to contribute, apply their brains to these really interesting problems and interesting solutions that the Maker community is constantly working through. So thank you all.